Do you think this survival instinct that wants to just evolve the species wants me to jump out of helicopters? No, this survival instinct wants me to sit in a corner, eat food and procreate. And when you're in that survival instinct, you can't create, can't grow.
And most people, unfortunately, are just living kind of a photocopy of the previous day, and they can never really get out of it, and they don't even know they're doing that.
Because as far as your mind is concerned, it's kept you alive until today. It doesn't care if it's a good thing or a bad thing, it just knows that it's familiar, it's safe. So we're caught in this habit loop, because your brain just goes, please do yesterday. So many people don't know they're in prison because they can't see the chains. Everyone is just happy with average. As long as I'm doing okay, that's brilliant. And life is not about that. My first memory of life on this planet was the chimp. 10 years old at the circus, found this baby chimp, and in the shadows, mummy or daddy making its way to me at Mach 10, landing on my chest, pinned me to the floor, and then the first fist. And I went somewhere I never knew existed in that moment, and I honestly heard this voice that said, "It doesn't end today, Ollie." And that just gave me enough courage to retaliate. That was my first break point.
If people resonated with anything today, what do you think would be a great next step?
The first thing I'd say to anyone is awareness. Start to use common sense and start to really understand that some of the advice we've been given in the past isn't probably the best advice. And just to question things anyway. You owe it to yourself to do that. I feel that we have a duty as a human. At the point of evolution, we were one of millions that made it through. And then the universe says, are you giving it the best you've got? So collaborate, thrive, and enjoy life.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Ollie Ollerton, the Special Forces soldier, TV star, author, and motivational speaker. You were an original member of the hit TV show SAS Who Dares Wins, where you inspired millions with your insights on leadership, mental toughness, and overcoming adversity. You are the best-selling author of 5 books, including your autobiography, Breakpoint, and the personal development guide, Battle Ready. You served as a Royal Marine Commando in Northern Ireland and Iraq, then joined the Special Boat Service, and spent 6 years touring the most hostile environments in the world, doing hostage rescue, counterterrorism, and homeland security. You were one of the first UK Special Forces soldiers to openly share your struggles with addiction, crediting ayahuasca as a key factor in turning your life around. Ultimately, you believe that man's greatest challenge is overcoming our inherent survival instinct, and that only by focusing on the here and now can we reclaim our potential and start living authentically. Ollie, welcome to London Real in Dubai.
Thank you for that introduction and thank you for inviting me here. It's a pleasure.
It's my pleasure to have you. Survival instinct. Talk about that. Everyone has it. Grandma has it. I have it. Everyone walking down the streets has it. It's not something that's talked about very much. We're all taught to meditate and all these other things, but you're kind of one of the first guys that I've seen kind of trace it back to a survival instinct. And I'm curious, what do you mean by that?
You know what, when I first had my kind of crash and burn at sometime after being in the Special Forces, I wanted to understand how the operating system worked. I couldn't understand, and I hate saying this word, but I couldn't understand why I'd gone from hero to zero in 10 years. I'd become the opposite of what I was in 10 years. I could be the laziest person you can imagine, and then I could be the most energetic person you can imagine. And I thought, what's going on there? So I started to do loads of research. I actually put myself into a boot camp. I locked myself for 3 months away in a house, which was the basis for the book, Battle Ready. And over that 3 months, I focused on 3 things: mind, body, and nutrition. Now, in that time, I switched off the news, didn't buy any newspapers. That's not changed since, by the way. And I was the most important project there was. And it was so important for me to get an understanding of how we're wired, understand the operating system. People know how to use their phones better than they know how this system works. And the only education we have is our siblings, our parents, our environment, our schooling, and the intentional programming that's out there, societal programming. So really, I wanted to get to grips with that operating system, understand that survival instinct, because I've had my back against the wall a couple of times, and really understanding that that is our default program. When you understand, this is, I think, is the battle, okay? This is my opinion. We have this survival instinct. That survival instinct is only interested in our evolution. It wants to keep evolving the species, etc., etc. Then you have your soul that wants to experience, wants to grow, wants to expand, wants to do all these great things. Do you think this here, this survival instinct that wants to just evolve the species, wants me to jump out of helicopters, ride fast motorbikes, go to war zones? No, this survival instinct wants me to sit in a corner, eat food and procreate, which sounds quite interesting for some people, but you get bored of that after a while. So we're in this constant battle. If we don't observe that, if we're not aware of that, then we are, and the majority of people are on this planet, unfortunately, the laziest species on the planet and the only one that knows it's going to die. So it was really important for me to get a grip on that. And this, I feel, is where so many people are trapped, because we are constantly driven towards that survival instinct, because you can be controlled when you are. And whether it's intentional or not, you can make those opinions for yourself. But the fact of the matter is, creative entrepreneurs don't help society function. When you look back, I look back on all kinds of aspects, and understanding that some time ago, the whole schooling system was designed to create factory workers. And that whole program, when you look at that, I looked into what we used to do. I got to a certain age and I just went, what is this? I just didn't understand the purpose of it at all. I was good at school, but all of a sudden I just went, I can't understand why I'm doing this. It seems a waste of my time. And when you look at it, right, the schooling system, what did we do back then? We went from 45-minute to 45-minute to 45-minute break. Then we did exactly the same thing in the afternoon. And then you get this gender argument of people saying, well, women are better at multitasking than men. Anyone that multitasks is 60% less productive, because you need to be into flow to really achieve anything spectacular in life. Any entrepreneur, any gold medalist, anyone that's done really well, they've found a passion outside of that schooling system and they've focused on it. Outside of school, even when they're in school, they're focused on that. They've stepped outside of the system. And you look at our traditional old way of evolution, you would have a family of blacksmiths. That whole family, with a whole line of blacksmiths, would train in that art, train in that skill. But now we've lost all of that, and we're all lost. The whole of society is lost because we've created this factory worker. People think they leave school, they never leave school. And I know I've kind of digressed a bit there because it's about the survival instinct, but the whole system is designed to keep us locked into that survival instinct. And when you're in that survival instinct, you can't create, you can't grow.
It's powerful to think about. It reminded me of a quote from Mark Twain, never let your school get in the way of your education, which is kind of funny at first. And when you look into it further, you realize your education has nothing to do with school. We're meant to constantly learn our entire lives. If anything, school gets in the way of that.
Yeah,
somehow.
most definitely. But they don't leave school. You know, a lot of people are so institutionalized that they leave school and they find a new headmaster. The new headmaster's in a business. They don't actually leave that safe bubble. And that's the thing, you know, when it comes to your survival instinct, we're trapped in that unless you're aware of it. And this awareness for me changed my life, because your mind wants to do what it did yesterday and the day before that and the day before that, because as far as your mind is concerned, it's kept you alive until today. It doesn't care if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It just knows that it's familiar, it's safe. So we're caught in this habit loop. And to break out of that, and I'll talk from my personal experience here, when I was drinking, and I was drinking heavily, I was caught in that. It was mayhem. It wasn't, I was in an ill state of mental health. I knew the right path moving forward. And I knew it was good for me. And I could say to myself, doing that would be great for me. It's going to be awesome, just do that. But just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. Because your brain just goes, please do yesterday. Please do yesterday. And that is really the concept of my business. You know, it's breakpoint, pushing into short-term discomfort for long-term gain. You have to go through the short term. Have you seen that quote about the bison?
No.
Oh, I love this quote. I actually put it in my presentations now. And it's got Anthony Hopkins, which is a great narrator and not a bad actor as well. And he talks about the bison being the only one of its species that turns into the storm when it's faced with it. It sees the storm, it turns into it, and it goes charging straight through. Because it knows on the other side, it's going to be short term, and it's going to be on the other side where it's calm.
As opposed to running forever as it chases them.
Exactly. Trying to escape the storm, which is the rest of the animals do, you never escape the storm. So you're forever in that constant pain. And when that relates to us as humans, when you procrastinate, when you go the path of least resistance, easy makes life hard. You know, and the bison just typifies that so well. And that really is the concept of breakpoint. It's stepping into short-term discomfort for long-term gain. Wow. And it's just being aware of this. Once you're aware of it, it's absolutely incredible. And it's also another amazing thing. I'm always, every day's a school day. I haven't got enough life left to think I know all the answers. And none of us should have. But it's interesting to know that your programming starts very early in life. You know, that 0 to 7, around about 0 to 7 is where all the coding's put in. And this is why the Jesuits have been telling their flock for 400 years, give me a boy until he is 7, I will show you the man. Because they know that all the stuff that they can program someone in those years creates the adult later on in life. Those programs are so hardwired that by the time you're about 32 or 30s in your early 30s, you're 95% program, 5% creative ability. And that creative ability, the 5%, is the one that wakes up on a Friday, right, Monday it all changes. I'm going to start looking after myself. I'm going to start investing in myself. I'm going to buy all the equipment this weekend, the new trainers, everything else. It always starts on a Monday, doesn't it? This is my last weekend, you know, of drinking and debauchery and everything else. Monday morning, they set their alarm for 45 minutes before. They're going to get up, do this workout. The alarm goes off Monday morning. What's the first thing we do? Snooze. Because what's happened there is the 95% tapped you on the shoulder and said, hey, I don't think you remember how we do things around here. And especially when you're stressed, this is how the system is designed, isn't it? It's designed so you don't have to think. You know, a lot of that programming is subconscious, exactly the same way that you used to drive, you know, you learned to drive a car. First day, absolute mayhem. I'm never going to be able to do this. Year later, you're driving down the road like some kind of, you know, Ayrton Senna, thinking you're a master. You don't even know how you've got to your destination. And that's basically because you've done something so much that your body's learned to do it better than your mind ever did. And really for me, I know this is like a lot of bits and bobs and information, but it's just awareness of this, awareness of the operating system. And once you're aware of that, you can work with your strengths as well as your weaknesses and stop faking perfection, which is the majority of people do on egogram. So.
And most people, unfortunately, are just living kind of a photocopy of the previous day. And that's based on the 95% of their programming, and they can never really get out of it. And they don't even know they're doing that. They think they have free will. They think they're making choices, but it's just that program on repeat.
Yeah, 100%. I also honestly believe, and I think this is why there's this, I've always been quite intrigued about the level of how we idolize celebrities. And I truly believe that's because we've been programmed to believe we lack any kind of power, we lack any kind of self-worth. So we idolize something external of us. I think we've been programmed to believe everything, our power, everything is outside of us. I mean, look at the Bible, for God's sake. That's a typical example of that. But we don't believe, or we don't understand the power of who we are. And I don't fully understand it at all, but I do know that some of the information and things I'm learning now about the power of who we are, about energy and everything else, and frequency, vibration, all this, that, and the other, makes more sense to me than the narrative that we've been fed. To think that we're just lumps of meat and gravy, walking around, eat, sleep, work, repeat, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. And then the programming to 7, I think we both know Dr. Bruce Lipton. He was on my show many years ago. And I didn't expect it was going to be probably one of our most watched episodes ever. I just thought this guy was going to come in, maybe talk about epigenetics and genetics, and all of a sudden he was talking about a lot of things you're talking about, the programming and everything. And then you had children, and my boys are now 7 and 8, so it's quite relevant to me, because right around the cutoff time. And then to watch them as kids, they just open up a hard drive when they're born, and they're taking everything in. And they're growing up in London, and okay, the Queen's over there. She's more important than the rest of us. Okay, I go to school, I do this. Daddy does this does this. I'm this. And yeah, they're programmed to think that you're this person in the world. And then you go to school, and if you look at the Victorian system, I mean, it was basically like, we have this industrial revolution, we have all these workers, and we got these pesky little things running around. What are they? Oh, they're kids. Yeah. Let's put them in here and make more workers. And then thanks to the British Empire, we exported that to the world. And so most people are walking around these programmed beings. And then, as you said, with your survival instinct, people take advantage of that, from marketers to, to people like Fauci, to people like all these other people.
Governments.
Can basically, governments, corporations. Yeah. They can pretty much make you do anything they want you to do by tapping into that, unless you're aware of it, right? And unless you can say, okay, my survival instinct's saying this, but I can bypass this if I want. And I think that's a lot about what you talk about.
Well, the first step is awareness, isn't it?
Yes.
Because if you're not aware of the program, then you are the program. And here's another thing for me as well, which is something else I've started stepping into again. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none when it comes to this stuff. But when it comes to sound frequency, and it's really interesting. Again, I mean, there's one familiar trait every time with these certain organisation or person that changed all this some time ago. I think it was around the 1950s that we used to, I didn't even know there was a governing body for sound. There's some kind of governing body for sound. And in the 50s, or should we go back to, first of all, the Schumann resonance of the Earth is 432. And that's the frequency that is harmonious to us as well. We're the same as Earth. And when we're in tune with that, it's quite harmonious to the body. Now, for whatever reason, in the 50s, they changed that to the 440 hertz, which is everything. It's your phone, it's your wireless. Do they call it wireless anymore? That made me sound really old. But anyway, all your instruments and everything is now 440 hertz, which is a very disruptive vibration and frequency to all your cells. So it's just interesting. And then I'll look at this, right? Our kids. You then stick a set of headphones on these kids with that frequency going straight into their head. And then they're listening to rap music, they're listening to this, kill this, all this aggression, violence and everything else. And then we wonder why there's a problem.
Right.
So I think, again, I'm no expert, but honestly, it's as clear as day to me what's going on.
I've heard this narrative recently that all of our pop music and music is just, the frequency itself is just jamming our heads and our souls on top of everything else that's trying to confuse us.
It's a toxic world, isn't it?
And so if people are watching or listening and they can maybe be aware that their survival brain is stopping them from living the rest of their life, they're stopping the fulfillment, and all it really wants is for you to procreate before you get to the grave. That's it. And then when in fact, if you want to live this amazing, fulfilling life, if you want to move humanity forward, move even your future generations forward, and then you have to realize that that you both have two separate interests. And so to be aware of one is the only way to get to the other. And then it's like, okay, what are the tools to do that? And then I guess there are many, many tools.
Yeah, I think, first of all, like I said, awareness is the first thing, isn't it? And at the end of the day, so many people don't know they're in prison because they can't see the chains. You know, and this is the thing, it's just the fact that they've got to understand that stress is the biggest killer, right? Whatever the disease is, about 90% of hospital visits or doctor's visits are stress related. So really, it's understanding the triggers of stress and everything else. I always come up with this story, this analogy, right? And that is, you imagine, we've all seen the shows, the wildlife shows. You've got this gazelle, and it's having a nice drink in the Serengeti. It's chewing on the grass, having a great old time, beautiful hot summer's day. There's a lion approaching in the undergrowth. And then all of a sudden the gazelle gets a sniff, and the gazelle is Mach 10 up the hill. The lion starts racing after it and then drifts off because he's run out of energy. Now the gazelle is not at the top of that mountain going, I can't believe he's just done that. I've chipped a hoof, and starts, that gazelle is back there chewing the grass, having a drink. It's learned how to use that stress response, bang up when it's needed, bang down when it's needed. And this is a lot as well when it comes to our special forces training. They taught us that, this is how we were trained. But the thing is, the way humanity is we are triggered exactly the same way in modern society as we were back in those primal days. And we can't let it go. And when you can't let it go, you've got one thing, your boss, your co-worker, your kids, your wife, whatever it is, switches on that stress, or comment on Instagram, and before you know it, you're up here. Then you listen to the news, you turn your phone on in the morning. Before you know it, you are constantly on this state of stress. And the next thing, you're starting to breathe shallow. You've got this cortisol response firing up, which means you're in fight or flight mode constantly. So you're constantly in this survival mode. And there's two things, right? And you'll agree with me, I know on this. Two things that will get your attention regardless of what you're doing. And that's sex and death. Sex and death. And what's the media all about? Sex and death. And a few bits thrown in there to distract you from it. It's just sex and death. So, at the end of the day, if you're actually in that survival mechanism, that survival stress state all the time, then all of a sudden you see something that could threaten you, bang, you're straight onto that. And that's why you get the shocking headlines and this, that, and the other and everything else. And, if you're constantly belt fed, you talked about tools before, one thing I'd certainly say to everyone is switch off the news app. Don't allow that to be the first thing you see as soon as you wake up in the morning. That 30 seconds is absolutely imperative. You imagine when you wake up as well, when it comes to your survival instinct, you've been asleep for 8 hours, say, you wake up, you get a boost of cortisol straight away. And the mind wants you to remember everything that threatened your life the day before. We haven't got the threats as much anymore, per se, but we have got all the problems. Your mind is addicted to problems. And this is why we've got it. We've just lost our way, when it comes to things like goals. The subconscious mind is a goal-striving, goal-getting machine that stops at nothing till it gets what your dominant thoughts focus on. Now, if that's predominantly negative, which it is, 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, predominantly negative, if you've got no control over that, then you are just going to be driven to every single problem, and you're walking around in a state of stress. You can never create because you're in that survival mechanism. You don't want to upset status quo. And look at the UK now. It's so frustrating because everyone is just happy with average. As long as I'm doing okay, as long as I'm just doing average, that's brilliant. And life is not about that.
That's weird that you put that right in at the end. Is that related to the fact that people are getting stressed all the time? Average?
The average. I just find that people, I think it's a byproduct of being in that survival mechanism, because you imagine someone that is
right, because that's a break. Average is a break from survival.
Well, the thing is, no, average is survival, because you don't take any risk whatsoever. Okay. If you're trapped on an island, you could be on this side of the island, the ship's crashed, you've made your way to the island, over the mountain there could be a habitation, there could be a village, anything, but you won't go up the mountain because that could risk your life even further. It could threaten you even more. So you keep control of this little area around you. Do not step out of it. And that's exactly how people are. They don't want to upset the status quo. Just get your job and allow that just to pay you enough to get by and pay your bills and everything else. We live in and then people are just a slave to the system. And I've been there. We've all been there.
What else can people do besides not turning the phone on first thing, not checking the news? What are some of the other things?
I mean, first of all, one thing for me is not drinking. I mean, that was the superpower for me. You know, when I stopped drinking, I realised what a cage, that had kept me in a cage for so long. It was like I had this, it's like Stockholm syndrome. You know, drink was my captor, you know, and I absolutely idolised this thing that was keeping me trapped and keeping me stressed. I had no money, but, you know, if that was a friend of yours, you'd have ditched him a long time ago, I'd certainly hope. But yeah, the thing for me is, right, and now I'm really starting to look deep into the cellular health of who we are. You know, I've now realised, I'm taking a lot of information in now, but we think, oh, we can go for a run, and that's going to be the answer to our fitness and our mental health. We think we can just do a bit of mindset stuff, and that's going to be the answer to everything. We think we can just maybe just eat a little bit better. It's more than that, it has to be a lot more than that. And really, when I went into that house some time ago, I focused on those three things: mind, body, and nutrition. And I truly believe that if you take one of those away, you're missing a big piece of that pyramid. So really, you know, I'm so addicted to learning about our water. Now, water is a big thing for me. It's like, well, for us all, 75% water. And we don't care the quality of the water that's going in there. The majority of the water out there is absolutely flawed. It's dead. It's dead water. And then you're getting all the fluorides and this, that, and the other. The pipes are corroded, blah, blah, blah. You've got microplastics. You've got pharmaceuticals in there that you can't get rid of. You know, it's toxic. And that's the one thing, isn't it? If you had to be the one thing that you have to change in your life, and this is what I say to people, start drinking water, good quality water, bit of Celtic salt first thing in the morning, stay away from the coffee for 60 minutes, and which that then affects your circadian rhythm. It allows you to wake up properly. And then get your exercise in, start doing stuff that takes you away from the everyday monotony of yesterday. You know, it is a simple process, and a lot of this stuff is free. I mean, you've had Dave Asprey on here. Has he been on the show?
Yeah, many times.
He's been on the show, so you know, a lot of the stuff, and all this knowledge, in a world of knowledge, you not knowing about stuff is pure ignorance. You know, there's so much information out there, but the thing is, it's what you choose to believe, isn't it? Mm. Because if you're of that sort of, a lot of people don't want to hear a different narrative because it's too much energy. It's too much of an upset to their day-to-day for them to, you know, if you tell them something, this cognitive dissonance will just go, no. And it's like I've tried to tell members of my family, you should not be having all this low-fat stuff and all this. It should be, you know, this is the stuff that's really making people ill. But you can't change them. They're so set in their ways. They're so set in that program. So people, you know, and they say the student is only ready. No, the teacher will only appear when the student's ready. Mm. Some people never wake up.
Let's talk about the drinking, because it's something that affected both of us for a long period of time. And it's something that is literally part of the culture in Britain, I noticed. Not that it doesn't exist in America, but when I moved to Britain full-time in 2002, I realized that it was just woven into everything of the culture. I'm in the city, people are drinking during the day. I mean, that didn't really happen on Wall Street where I was. And it was just so inherently part of the culture somehow. And again, maybe that's back to the programming, and then you go even further and say, okay, maybe it's part of other people using it to control. But you had it really early because you grew up in a town where there was literally a brewery where they would pay you, I think, in beer. I mean, you've gone through an entire journey. I'm just curious how you look at alcohol, how it's part of the human narrative and condition, and then what did you learn?
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting journey with the alcohol. And at 14 years old, when I took my first drink, and I lived in that town, well, it's a brewery town, you know, everyone in my family drank, and I just had this relationship with drinking. And I always say hindsight's a wonderful thing, but it never won any wars. It's great for reflection, and it's great for then to start choosing how you're going to move forward in the future. But for me, for drinking, I think this is a big problem. Like a lot of people, first of all, they haven't got a drinking problem. They've got a problem that causes them to drink. And they start that relationship very early with drink, and that's to mask an emotion. You know what I mean? Isn't it? That's what we all do it because societal pressure as well.
Yeah.
You know, we must all do this. You've got parents saying, let him have his first drink, all this stuff. It's sort of, you know, we grow into it.
And you've said it before. You have a bad day, have a drink. You have a good day, have a drink.
Yeah.
Somebody dies, you have a drink. Somebody's born, you have a drink. I mean, it's crazy cultural
and I
condition.
believe it stems from there because we've used it to mask an emotion, so we've relied on it for that emotional fix. But then our mind's gone, well, can we use it for that? Can we use it for sorrow? Can we use it for happiness? Can we use it? And really what you're doing, it's really corrupt. It's putting up a smokescreen. So any kind of problems, any kind of issues, confidence as well. This is why so many adults have got confidence issues. Why have you got confidence issues? It's because you've never actually dealt with the problem, and that is the emotion. You've always had a drug to deal with the emotional deficit of your confidence.
Right.
So, and that was certainly the case for me. I rented a personality through drink.
Fun guy.
Yeah. And you know what, after not drinking now, I was thinking about this, I think all day long, but I was thinking about this just recently. I was thinking, I'm a total contradiction to who I made myself through drink. Because I made out, the drink made me a real extrovert. I was the party guy, this, that, and the other. Take the drink away, I'm a totally different person. So you realize how much you're fighting against the grain of actually who you are. And that for me, when I stopped drinking, which was some time, I got to a point where I crashed and burned and started thinking about suicide. I never attempted it, but the fact I was there was a wake-up call for me.
How old were you?
43.
Okay.
43. So, and I realized how damaging it was for me, and it had to go. But I forgot the point of what I was saying, the point of what I was coming to, but I used it for that emotional,
Right, or you were the extrovert guy.
The extrovert guy, and then suddenly you take that away, and I'm not that extrovert at all. So you're fighting against the real person, the real essence of who you are. And when it got to that point, I was so petrified because, again, going back to the survival mechanism, I didn't know who I was in the future. I had no idea who Ollie Ollerton was. And, it's, and that was, when the survival mind, if uncharted territory moving forward, it's terrified of it.
It wants to do yesterday.
It wants to do,
That's
please
a great
do
line.
Yesterday.
Please do yesterday.
Please do yesterday.
Oh man, I love that line. So everybody watching should know that when you wake up tomorrow, your brain is begging you, please do yesterday.
Yeah.
That's all it wants, because it knows what happens. It knows you made it through yesterday, we're going to make it through today. And anything out of the ordinary, it's going to reject. Even if it's, you're going to get $1 billion, you're going to meet the greatest person you ever met, you're going to do this. It's, no, let's just do yesterday.
Yeah.
All right. And so now you have this unknown of, if I stop drinking, I don't even know who I am anymore. And you did it because you had an important project, I think, on TV, right? And so you stopped drinking for that. And when that was over, your mates wanted you to be like, let's go grab that drink and go back.
They wanted Ollie back.
And you had, that's an amazing, powerful moment that could have taken your life one way or the other. And you said, no, I'm going to stick this out.
Yeah, that was an incredible moment, because it was the first time ever I didn't allow the program to take over, because that, Ollie, come on, let's go and get smashed. Bang, here's a drink. But it was the first time I took a breath. And what I did by taking a breath is I took it from the subconscious mind and put it into the frontal cortex to analyze whether I wanted to do it or not. Yeah. And then I made the decision. I feel great. I feel amazing. I'm going to give this a go. And I would go back to the drink because I thought I've controlled it now and everything else. So I did 2.5 years. And then I went back on the drink for 8 months, and then it was just going the same way. But, whenever I talk about this, everyone thinks, well, he must have had a big problem. It wasn't that. It was the fact that even when I had one drink, it just sent this mind into, fuck it. Just fuck it. All this sort of creativity, productivity, dreams, everything, just fuck it, just leave it. And it just put me, have another drink. It was never just one drink. I drank to get drunk. And I found it so destructive, and then when disruptive, and then when I actually managed to get in control of it, and I actually met me for the first time since 14, and it took a bit of cold turkey, obviously, a bit of pain to get to that. But when I met me, I actually started to like me for the first time in a long time, and then I've got to the attitude now where I'm like, I would not corrupt this now. I would not create that chemical imbalance, because here's the thing I've studied and met people that have told me a lot about drink, and it's like we've got this misconception that when you have a drink you're all jolly and you're all happy and this, that and the other. That's the drink. It's not the drink. The drink is the depressant. Your body is injecting chemicals into your system to level the balance, and the joy you feel is your body's reaction to the poison or to the depressant. It's not the drink that gives you that. And then we also think, well, when I'm around people, I'm a lot more sociable and everything else. You take the drink away, you'll find that's still there. Because in community, we thrive. Our energy starts to really interact, if you're with the right people, that is. And it's not the drink. You know, it's this misconception that it's the drink.
Yeah.
And I feel personally, it's like I say, it's keeping people trapped. They don't even know they're locked in a cell.
Right. It's yet another component that keeps you locked up.
In your box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another tool that has been developed by us that keeps us in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm 7 years sober now.
Well done.
I don't go to meetings or anything like that, never did. I just, funny enough, I did one of those self-imposed, I'm going to take January off 7 years ago. It's kind of a very British thing to not drink in January. And I was just decided to do it. And then at 30 days, a friend of mine said, okay, let's have a drink. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep going. And then I just kept going. Now, I had tried to stop for 20 years. I drank every day for 20 some years. I was functional, whatever the hell that means. But it was just something I couldn't control. And I was supposed to be a smart guy, right? And I could see how destructive it is. And I remember being so embarrassed to go back to that corner shop and get him to give me those 2 bottles of vodka again. And here he was looking at me across the thing like, you're such a loser. Look at you. Look at you. And just sending me those bottles. And I was just like, Jesus, I hate this. And,
that's your perception, isn't it, of what you think he's thinking, but you're thinking that about yourself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, like he even knows who I am. But yeah, and I am thinking about that myself. In our last film, where we talked about what we did in 2020 and getting censored, there's a moment where I'm thinking about maybe going back to drinking, and I'm remembering that guy and how I can't be that guy anymore. And people can understand how I'm feeling in that moment. And but I couldn't figure it out. I think, Ollie, because again, my mind just said, let's do yesterday. I also felt really disconnected from the world, and drinking was a way of getting away from that feeling. I also felt really hard on myself, which was probably the world being hard on me, and it was a way of getting away from that. And it was just my way of detaching. And yet it's just, why would you want to be numb to the world?
Yeah, exactly.
One of my guests one time said that people drink because they can't handle reality. And if you don't like your reality, then change your reality, but don't become numb to it. And that's something that always resonated to me.
Absolutely.
And whenever I wanted to drink that first year, whenever I had a tough time, I thought, wait a second, you know, you're going to have a drink because you can't handle reality? Are you really so much of a pussy you can't fucking handle reality? And then I would push myself and flip it on me and be like, no, you can handle it. You've handled much worse. And if you don't like your reality, well, go fucking change it then. And so that just kept me going. And honestly, Ollie, it's one of the greatest accomplishments of my life.
Yeah. And I think you can't actually, you know, you can explain, you can tell people that haven't done that, haven't gone there, haven't tried it. You can tell them stories with so much emotion, but they will never understand unless they try it themselves. Do you know the real truth behind prohibition?
I probably guessed, but go ahead, tell me.
Yeah, this is something that blew my mind, but it just makes sense to me. Prohibition wasn't about people, you know, we're going to stop this deadly chemical that's on the streets, and you know, because it's you know, so disruptive to everyone's health. It was the fact that people start to use it for fuel.
Okay.
You know, all the alcohol, it was this sustainable fuel that they were using in their lamps, they were using in their vehicles, and that was why prohibition came in, because they wiped that all out, because the pharmaceutical, sorry, got it on the brain, the petroleum companies were losing revenue. You know, and that's, you know, do you think the people at the top were like, we're not drinking either? They were all getting on it, but they were clearing out and making sure that was stamped out.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And then also it's weird when you have these prohibitions, then all these people get involved that have their own interests in mind. So let's be honest, I mean, the bootleggers made a ton of money, and then someone has a crusade to crusade for, and then all these people come in who actually, it's better for them when there's a prohibition. People are comparing that to AI now, because AI comes up and they're like, oh no, we have to ban it, oh, we have to control it. And you got the bootleggers coming in saying, oh yeah, control that. Meanwhile, they're making money in the back, or they're drinking themselves. So yeah, you have to definitely analyze all of those things and find out what were the parties doing what.
Yeah.
You know, but it's worth thinking about, and it's been so normalized in our culture. They say if alcohol was created as a drug right now, it would be Schedule 1 and banned in the world.
Carcinogenic.
Yeah, and all the deaths, more deaths come from alcohol than heroin and fentanyl and any of that stuff.
Well, I think, absolutely. And it's, I've known people that work in sort of, the Priory and places like that. And that's a bit of a posh one, but, and they say that the worst drug out of anything is alcohol, heroin, cocaine, everything. The worst one is alcohol. Yeah.
And getting off it is hard as well. And then it's so normalized and social. And, But I mean, I love going out sober. And when you see people drunk, you realize how stupid you used to be. And I just can't even imagine ever going back, and I never will go back. I'm never going back.
No. And I used to at one point, I used to be a little bit embarrassed and, or get myself a non-alcoholic one so no one asks questions.
Yeah.
I won't even have an alcoholic looking one now because I don't want people to think that I drink. I wear that like a badge of honor now.
Yeah, nice.
And I tell you what, one thing for me, the biggest thing for me, forget the alcohol, is the fact something had control of me. I was alcohol's bitch, I was money's bitch, I was pornography's bitch, I was drugs bitch, everything. And if you're not in control of any of that, I'm not saying everyone's got to stop totally any kind of addiction, but you've got to be in the driving seat. And when you're not in the driving seat, you've got a problem. You've got a big problem. So for me, breaking the chain of being in control, putting myself in control, then allowed me to understand that I can do anything. And now I can, some people I'm doing sugar at the moment, so I'm breaking sugar. So since the 6th of Jan, no sugar. But I know I can do it. And a lot of people are like, I can't stop coffee. I can't stop, First of all, you've got to have a purpose for doing stuff. You've got to assign purpose to the discomfort of doing stuff. Otherwise, you'll never do it. You've got to understand your why. Yeah. So as long as you can understand that, you can do it. And that pain is very short. People don't understand, but people aren't prepared to step into the short-term discomfort, generally, with everything. And that's the same with drink. I've got people, I did the dry Jan thing in 2024 for a massive group, big group of people. And then we did a 10K race at the end of it. It was brilliant. And this year, I was blown away, Brian, because I had so many people, not hundreds, but quite a few people that would Instagram me that I hadn't heard from all year round saying, it's been a year. Wow. It's been a year since I did that dry Jan campaign with you. And it's been incredible. And all I can see is my life has changed. I want to thank you so much. And that to me is the best paycheck in the world.
That's amazing. Yeah, when you have control of your life, and it's not that hard, it's super empowering. And you're like, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do?
Yeah.
And people have the control. It's not as hard as you think it is. It seems like it would be. In the beginning it might be, and then all of a sudden you get on a new normal. But anything,
isn't it? If you've done something continuously for days and days and days, it's all in the past. You've got to imagine as well, like, if someone's, say, 40 years old, you've spent 40 years refining that habit, refining who you are, refining the program. And it's not going to happen overnight. Change is not going to happen. And we are not wired to embrace change. We're just not, for the reasons we've talked about. But if people could just, I think we've created a society that has been programmed to cry before they feel the pain. Do you know what I mean? So we're in this weakened society that they don't want to step into any discomfort. I heard someone this morning, where did I hear it? I think it was at the airport. Someone was saying, or I was watching something on the plane, and this, it was in a church, and this guy was saying, it's humanity's purpose to suffer. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, because initially you go, shut up. But then I thought, in some respects, I believe that's true. Because to the nervous system, when it knows you're struggling, it knows you're pushing into some discomfort, it knows you're evolving, you're growing. So I do feel there's a bit of truth in that, and I feel in the absence of that, this is where we have the issues. I really believe, I used to demonize the comfort zone, and you've seen it on Instagram and everything else, comfort zones, there's no growth. There's a purpose and a place for the comfort zone. There's a time when you can sit there, watch Netflix. There's a time when you can sit there, eat some crap food, this, that, and the other. But it's not for residents. You don't set camp up there. It's where you recuperate, you regenerate, and then you go again. Right. But people have set up camp there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they won't step out of that. And it's certainly my mission since getting on that show and getting the exposure. I want to wake up as many people as possible to their potential.
You said you went from hero to zero before you locked yourself, away for 3 months and got back to the basics. What did you mean? Where had you gone?
Well, for me, over a period of time, I was always drinking when I was in the military. It was just a thing, you used to go and do stuff, you used to come back, don't show emotion, just get on the lash. Did show emotion, shut up and get a beer down your neck. It was that kind of alpha male environment.
Not a place for emotion, right? You said the military doesn't allow you to talk about your feelings, so you become
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.